Rhino PMC is a private military corporation forged in the image of brutality itself. Born from the cold steel halls of DNMG logistics, it is a faction built on suffering, control, and transformation, where soldiers are not people, but tools sharpened for war. They are what happens when profit and pain become one. Soldiers in Rhino are stripped of humanity through cybernetic augmentation and mental reprogramming, often becoming emotionless husks controlled by compound gold, a neural control implant that suppresses emotion and overrides will. Rank within Rhino is measured not by merit or loyalty, but by how much of your flesh has been replaced. Recruits are almost always desperate, down on their luck wastelanders who sign their rights away in exchange for coin, purpose, or vengeance. What they get is servitude. What they become is machinery. Survival is optional. Obedience is mandatory. Rhino PMC was founded by Maxwell Campbell, once a monarch under DNMG and the prodigy son of two corporate giants, Adrian and Martha Campbell. Raised to be perfect, Maxwell was trained to survive, to lead, and to destroy. Qualities DNMG admired, but ultimately failed to contain. Disillusioned by DNMG's over-reliance on genetic modification, Maxwell left the company and stole their cybernetic research, using it to create his own faction. Rhino's foundation was brutal and simple. Create the perfect soldier not through birth, but through steel. Experimentation began. Civilians, prisoners, even volunteers were recruited into Rhino's ranks, forcibly transformed into emotionless cyber warriors. Maxwell cared not for ethics, only efficiency. At the heart of Rhino's operation lies compound gold, a neural implant that suppresses emotion, removes hesitation, and ensures absolute loyalty. Early versions caused seizures or death. Modern versions just erase everything that made you, you. Only the highest-ranking operatives, those who have survived enough battles to earn back their mind, are permitted reduced levels of control. Until then, every soldier is a drone with a heartbeat. Rhino PMC buys most of its gear directly from DNMG Logistics, often using their surplus cybernetics and experimental devices. Despite their split, the two remain business partners, trading tools of death like candy. Rhino's closest ideological allies, however, are the mech lords. Maxwell and Emperor O'Connor see eye to eye. Weakness is failure, flesh is obsolete, and mercy is extinction. Together, they've created some of the most terrifying cybernetic enhancements seen in the wastes. Maxwell's younger brother, Conwell, joined Rhino years later as a broken man looking for direction. Maxwell gave him purpose by turning him into an experiment. Conwell was tortured, rebuilt, and sent on suicide missions, but he never broke. Eventually, he escaped. Maxwell never forgave him. To this day, Maxwell sees Conwell as the one loose bolt in an otherwise perfect machine, and he will not rest until Conwell is dead. Rhino continues to operate under military corporate law, running contracts for warlords, PMCs, and even governments like the NEU or ODS. For the right price, they'll kill anyone, anywhere. They are not allies. They are a force you hire when you need the job done ruthlessly and without mercy. Their bases are fortresses. Their soldiers are war-forged horrors. Their goals are singular: eliminate weakness, crush resistance, and prove that only the machine survives the wastes. Dr. Esker Norren was once a highly regarded biomedical researcher within the Northeast Union, specializing in mutagenic virology and neurological augmentation. During a high containment breach, she contracted an extreme variant of Montaris, a brain-altering infection known for degenerative psychosis and feral transformation. Though she narrowly avoided complete mental collapse, the infection caused irreversible neurological degradation, leading to erratic behavior, obsessive ideation, and the emergence of violent anti-NEU rhetoric. Deemed mentally unfit for scientific service and quietly discharged, Norren wandered through breakdown and exile, obsessed with correcting the biological errors of mankind and holding a bitter vendetta against the NEU. She was later approached by Maxwell, founder of the Rhino PMC, who saw in her a volatile but brilliant mind with applications in biological control warfare. Through extensive cybernetic intervention, including spinal threading, cranial dampeners, and neurocircuit stabilizers, Dr. Norren was made functional, if unstable. She now leads Compound Gold, a Rhino PMC Black project developing neurological control agents, programmable aggression triggers, and combat compliance cocktails designed to chemically puppet field operatives and penal units. Her theories often cross into ethically void territory, such as volitional erasure, hive mind serums, and emotion scrubbing. Despite being mostly confined to the lab, she is known to record disturbing audio diaries and participate in irregular field tests on captives or cybernetically restrained personnel. Eric Taylor, formerly known as one of the Sunrise Republic's most decorated and cybernetically enhanced officers, rose to fame during the 2140s as a battlefield tactician and frontline symbol of Sunrise's fusion of man and machine. A vocal supporter of Vice President O'Connor, he aligned ideologically with the Mech Lord movement, but did not initially defect during the outbreak of the Sunrise Civil War in 2149. However, in 2151, amidst worsening conflict and disillusionment with Republic leadership, Taylor betrayed the Loyalist command and defected to the Mech Lords. He fought bitterly in their campaigns until their ultimate defeat in 2154, after which the remnants, including Taylor, were exiled or fragmented. Taylor, by then scarred by betrayal, war, and regret, became a wandering relic of a cause he no longer believed in. When Rhino PMC began brokering ties with surviving Mech Lords, Maxwell saw in Taylor a broken but useful tool, a pragmatic commander not driven by Mech Lord extremism, but desperate for a second chance. Maxwell offered him a false bargain, loyalty in exchange for the restoration of his identity, honor, and possibly a path back to Sunrise. Rebranded as Colonel Reyes 24, Taylor was forcibly reprogrammed into a subservient executioner, stripped of rank, memory segments, and autonomous command. However, deep within the layers of control, Taylor remains lucid, aware that Maxwell has no intention of keeping his promise. Now he plays a dangerous double game, following orders to survive while covertly searching for a way out of Rhino's grasp. Thornmax is a monarch, one of DNMG's feared biomechanical super soldiers, constructed through grotesque synthesis of pre-flash genetics, neural sculpting, and exomuscular augmentation. The being that became Thornmax was stripped of its identity during the Monarch process. No name, rank, or history remains. What it did retain was a singular instinct, dominance through terror. Unusually, Thornmax named itself, a behavior considered a deviation among monarchs, who typically remain nameless designations. The reason for the name remains unknown, though some suspect it references a memory shard, a place, or a concept lost during its mental purge. Maxwell, during his brief time embedded with DNMG, witnessed Thornmax firsthand in battle, a towering wall of flesh and metal that crushed enemy lines through sheer psychological collapse. So impressed was he that, upon founding Rhino PMC, he made a personal request to borrow the Monarch permanently. DNMG, hesitant to par with one of their most powerful assets, ultimately agreed under closed sanction, citing operational exchange terms never disclosed to outsiders. Within Rhino, Thornmax became something more than a weapon, a deterrent, an executioner, and the living embodiment of loyalty. Designated as Commandant of Internal Discipline, Thornmax is not deployed against external threats unless absolutely necessary. It is reserved for in-house violations, suspected dissent, or morale failures. Soldiers speak of it in hushed tones, referring to it as the Warden, the Flesh Crown, or Maxwell's Silence. It does not speak often, but when it does, its voice is guttural, methodical, and absolute. It is rumored that even Maxwell watches his tone when addressing it, though Thornmax has never disobeyed him. Maxwell Campbell is not a warlord. He is a machine builder of purpose, the cold, calculating architect of Rhino PMC. Maxwell is a product of brutal ambition and elite design. Raised under the shadow of DNMG, Maxwell was groomed from birth to embody corporate perfection, peak intelligence, elite physical conditioning, and absolute discipline. His parents, Adrian and Martha Campbell, senior DNMG executives, poured all resources into their eldest son, while discarding his younger brother, Conwell, as an acceptable loss. At 13, Maxwell entered the Monarch program, quickly distinguishing himself as a rare outlier, a candidate who refused major genetic modification, opting instead to master his own body and mind through pain, training, and surgical augmentation. His talents earned him prestige in DNMG's darkest departments: covert warfare, cybernetic logistics, and the purge of failed experiments. But Maxwell grew restless. Disillusioned by DNMG's stagnation and bureaucratic cowardice, he broke away and founded Rhino PMC, a paramilitary syndicate built on a singular principle: the eradication of human weakness. Unlike DNMG, which relied on genes and tradition, Rhino favored full cybernetic loyalty conditioning, biomechanical warfare, and fear-driven discipline. He began experimenting immediately, converting prisoners, deserters, and volunteers into cold, programmable killers. These cyborgs lacked identity or mercy, bound to direct command systems and obedience frameworks. Those who faltered were reprocessed. Those who resisted were executed or handed to Thornmax. Maxwell retains heavy personal augmentation, far beyond regulation. Multi-layered neural firewalls, spinal control rigs, exoskeletal redundancy systems, and emotion inhibitors. He is still fully sentient, but any trace of empathy has been intentionally excised. To his subordinates, he is less a commander and more a mechanized god figure, untouchable, unchallengeable, unfeeling. In 2162, his estranged brother Conwell returned, seeking purpose. Maxwell saw an opportunity, not for reconciliation, but for conversion. Over 2 years, Conwell was reshaped into a prototype monarch, a living test of how far family ties could be mutilated in pursuit of obedience. But when Conwell fled, the facade shattered. Maxwell declared him a defect, a virus, and vowed to exterminate him. Today, Maxwell remains the unchallenged apex of Rhino PMC, brokering alliances with groups like the Mech Lords and DNMG, while continuing to build the perfect cybernetic army. He sells war for profit, but lives only for one goal: to prove that steel survives where flesh fails. Rhino isn't just a mercenary outfit, it's a monument to the price of control. A warning wrapped in armor and protocol. In their rise, we see how far the powerful will go to keep their grip, and how far the desperate will go to break free. Whether hired sword or hunted ghost, Rhino leaves behind a legacy soaked in consequence. And in a world like this, maybe that's all that's left: consequence.